Welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo at Jake Gilbo 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Taking a look at hitters on tonight's FanDuel slate, and given the wide variety of pitching, I think it's kind of going to be either a hit or miss night, or hitting just kind of completely goes off.
I think there's going to be some solid stacks out there that I'm pretty excited about. So I guess we'll get into it, but I think there's some pretty reliable stacks out there.
Yeah, I think so too. Mariners and Pirates here. Garrett Cole versus James Paxton, and start with the Mariners. I'm not really intrigued with this offense tonight against Cole. For me, I think it just kind of washes it out. The Cano and Seager price tags, 3.4 and 3.5. I think if you are taking a look, it's probably going to be with them. I don't see myself really using secondary pieces.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not really in on this Mariners lineup. I don't really see the upside. I also see a downside for Cole, but not enough to where I'm really targeting any of these guys.
Yeah, I just think they kind of wash each other out. I think we kind of have a few of those on today's slate where, you like the pitching, but you also don't really like the matchup, and kind of vice versa as far as they kind of just, that's it.
Right, exactly. It's just maybe a one-off. I don't mind Cano's price, but at the same time, it is a tough arm he's facing. So,
yeah, I think so. And then on the Pirates side, I'm not really a big fan of the Pirates offense. Obviously they're facing the lefty. Obviously, you have some right-handed bats in there that could do some damage. But for me, I'm kind of staying away. But I guess if you want to play Pirates, I don't have a problem with it, but they're not cash game worthy for me. I think they would just be more of a GPP threat.
Yeah, definitely agree there. I am intrigued by some of these prices, though. I think this is a decent matchup for them with all the righties at the top there. That McCutchen, Jung Ho Kang, and Marte grouping, I think, could be an interesting tournament stack.
Yeah, the Kang price tag at 2.5 is certainly one that caught my eye. And as you mentioned, Marte 3.7, a little expensive, but obviously not too bad. Marte's probably been the most consistent bet that they've had this season.
This is a nice tournament swerve because I think a lot of people are off the Pirates. I think people are kind of done investing in them after they've been pretty gross for a while now. But I think this is an interesting night where you can get them for cheap.
Yeah, I think so too. Rockies and Orioles, Dylan Bundy versus John Gray. And we'll talk about the Rocky side of things here first. I'm not really in love with the matchup. I guess if you want to make a case for some of the lefties, you always really can, like a Blackman or Cargo. But Arenado at that price, 4.4, I'm not really intrigued. Story at 3.4, though, I'll definitely take a look in GPPs.
For sure. And again, I don't mind the Rockies, but with price considered, they're just not really something I'm looking to get exposure to.
Yeah, it's not something I'm jumping all over. I think 9-game slate big enough. It's just more maybe a one-off GPP play with a Cargo or a one-off with Blackman. I don't really see myself kind of going heavily involved with them.
Right.
As far as the Orioles go, I'm not really intrigued with this matchup with Gray. Obviously, there is some potential there. I think the Mark Trumbo price at 3,100 catches my eye, but not quite sure if I'm going to be loving the Orioles, even though they are projected for over 5 runs.
As I understand why we would want to avoid John Gray, and to an extent, we probably should. But I don't mind the middle of this lineup, especially Trumbo. I think you could fire off a 3-4-5 stack in there in a tournament and feel relatively confident. And I think a lot of people are going to be off them because of Gray. So I think that might be a night to get low ownership Orioles with some high upside. Even if you want to go one-offs, that's fine with me too.
Yeah, there is definitely that upside, that home run potential. We've seen it before. We saw it with Adam Jones last night, who I don't mind. I think Trumbo, Jones, obviously Machado is kind of who I'm looking at. I'm not really on a Chris Davis at 3.8. I think I kind of rather lean some different options at first base. But I don't mind the right-handers there.
Yeah, Gray is coming off a stretch where he allowed a homer in like 8 straight games. So I think that's a pretty decent bet for tonight that at least one of them gets one,
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just one of those ones where I'm not on a full stack. It's just more so trying to get that one off that does hit the homer. And that's how it's kind of been the last few days. I mean, you look at this Baltimore team, they've been projected for high runs against bad pitching, and they haven't really come through. I mean, last night it was really just Adam Jones.
Right.
So I think that's how it's going to be again tonight. And I think it's about choosing the right guy and hoping that you get that one Baltimore bat that does do the damage, because it will happen. There will be someone.
Definitely.
Mets and Cardinals here. Adam Wainwright versus Logan Verrey. I don't mind some of the Cardinals' prices here on FanDuel. I think Aledmus Diaz at 2.7 is definitely interesting. Same with the Piscotty. Don't even mind a Matt Adams either. So I find the Cardinals are a little bit intriguing, and I'm kind of hoping Vegas kind of keeps their total down, and they should keep their ownership down.
Yeah, it definitely should. I'm okay with some of these prices, especially Aledmus Diaz and Randall Grichuk. But at the same time, I'm still not seeing this as a very high upside game. So I'm not into really stacking. Maybe throw one guy from that Cardinals lineup in there. And I'm definitely not looking at Mets here. So this is kind of straightforward for me.
Yeah, I'm not looking at Mets either. I think the matchup with Wainwright, who's probably a relatively high cash game arm tonight, nothing more than trying to be super contrarian against the chalk, but I just don't see the need to toss any Mets in.
Right.
A's and Rangers, and I think given the fact that Oakland's bats are still priced relatively high for facing Yu Darvish, it's kind of an easy fade. I really don't see a ton of upside coming out of any of these guys. Maybe someone gets lucky and pops out a homer, but I think it's going to be a pretty quiet night from the Oakland offense.
Yeah, yuck. We or at least I tend to gravitate towards the A's most nights against non-elite pitchers, but Darvish is good enough, and they're priced up enough where it's just not something I'm interested in.
No, I don't think so either. And in the Rangers side, it's more interesting here. I think you got like some of these bats.
That Ian Desmond price just keeps going up little by little, just chipping away till it's going to be like 8K some morning. I'm going to open up the slate. He's just going to be 8,000.
It's always weird when Desmond's priced like above Trout or, above, like it just.
Yeah,
like
it is.
It is odd to see, but I mean, it's obviously super contrarian. I'm not quite sure if I can pay up for him. Just because the pricing is very high. But I guess if you are looking to make a tournament move, I don't mind Desmond because he does have upside, especially in this matchup. I do like the righties. I like Beltray at 3.5. Ryan Rua, I don't mind at 3.1. Elvis Andrus has kind of been quietly really good against Southpaws, so him at his 2.9 price tag, I don't mind either.
Yeah, I like Profar here. I think that's a decent sort of jump. But yeah, I mean Desmond is a good play. It's not that he's not. It's just that's super expensive and sort of annoying because you do want to play him, but that's tough to get him in for that.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And that's the one thing that's just kind of a knock against Desmond at this point. It's like when we reference him, it's always a solid matchup for him to do well in, but it's the price that kind of brings you down.
Right.
So. Next game here, we got the Cubs and the White Sox. This game is in Wrigley, so they make the jump back to the non-DH park, and that should take Morneau out of the lineup. For me, I mean, I'm not really looking at White Sox bats here. They are cheap. I think Todd Frazier still might be the only one I'd take a shot at just because he has heated up in the second half, and there is some upside for relatively low price.
Yeah, I think that's pretty intriguing. Overall, though, I think we're targeting Cubs and sort of just leaving the White Sox out to dry here. I don't really need to get involved with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Looking at the Cubs here, I mean, projected for over 5 runs, back at home. The prices are a little expensive for me. I think Fowler's the only one I feel really comfortable using in cash games. I'm not quite sure I can pay up for a 4.7 Chris Bryant or a 5.1 Anthony Rizzo. I think that's a little too high for me in cash. And even same with the Zobrist at 4.2, it just seems way up there. But obviously, I don't mind the Cubs, but I think it's one of those situations where Fowler's going to be my one-off. While the rest I kind of just can maybe go all in on as far as the stat goes.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. It's kind of an all or nothing sort of thing when you look at Rizzo Bryant, but I think that top 4 has quite a bit of upside.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, average right-handed arm at home, you do like that quite a bit. Atlanta and Minnesota here. Tyler Duffy versus Mike Foltynewicz. And I'm not quite sure what to make of this game. I think it is going to be relatively low scoring, kind of like it was last night. Even though the Twins are projected for over 5 runs, I think Fulton kind of does throw a quality start and limits damage. Um, Kenneth Vargas is probably the only one I really, really like from this Twins lineup. Just given it's a lefty against Fultonowitz, and that's kind of where he struggled for the most part. Go back to last year, I mean, over a home run per nine, over 2. Vargas, big time power and a nice value bet there.
Normally, you're a Max Kepler type of guy. You at least throw him in, even if he's not a cash guy. But
I don't mind him. I mean, him and Vargas are intriguing.
I'm still intrigued by this Twins lineup. I kind of like it. I think Sano is pretty reasonably priced. Obviously, it's a righty, but I do think the 3 through 6 in that grouping is very much in play.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Sano, that really nice price tag, a lot of pop there. As far as the Braves go, I mean, I'm not really looking to use anyone at their prices. I know Duffy has struggled against right-handed bats, but I don't see myself playing an Adonis Garcia at 3.5 or a Beckham at 3.1. I don't see just myself like, why would I do that to myself? Why would I go Braves over other bats?
For sure.
So kind of hard prices. They were priced down. Obviously, they wouldn't really be against Duffy, but the slate is full enough for me to kind of avoid.
Definitely.
Houston and New York next. Lance McCullers versus Masahiro Tanaka. I'm not really in love with either side of these teams for hitters. I think it's just kind of going to be a fade game, and I look more so at pitching. But it's hard not to knock a Carlos Correa at 3.3 in GPPs or even a Springer. I still don't. I'm more inclined with taking Houston bats in GPPs than I am with the Yankees.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not really in on either side here. I just think this is I like the pitchers here. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. RIP me after saying that. It's going to be 10-7 in the third. But I do like both of these pitchers tonight. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, kind of like Vegas indicates. But it could even be lower than that. So I'm not necessarily in on either side here, especially with the righty versus the Astros.
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of just staying away for the most part. I think Correa might be the only one I might take a shot on just because of that price.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, Diamondbacks and Brewers next here. Archie Bradley versus Jimmy Nelson. For me, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can look at these Brewers bats, but they're kind of expensive. I like more so the lefties against Bradley than I do the right-handers. So, I mean, that would mean a Villar or Gannett, but they're kind of priced up into a range where it is tough and definitely kind of just GPP territory only for me.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely GPP only because of the prices, but I think it's pretty intriguing at the same time. Sort of like we talked about with the Cubs. Not quite the Cubs type upside, but I do think the front of that lineup is very stackable in a full team type of way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, stackable for sure. I mean, we talked about the lefties right now, but obviously Braun and Lucroy coming behind him is something that's, it is top notch. The price tag for Braun is a little out of my range, but
Yeah.
I think with you, I think it is a stacking situation more so than a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the Diamondbacks go, I'm not really in love with the offense there tonight. I think Nelson's fairly tough on right-handed pitching. You go back to last year, 276 WOBA allowed to righties. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not really in love with the Diamondbacks offense. I mean, obviously, it's Segura and Goldschmidt kind of, are the high upside guys there.
Goldschmidt makes that lineup look so much prettier than it actually is. It's really, really gross beyond him and Segura, but what are you going to do? Yeah, I'm not really looking at many bats from this lineup.
And the thing is, it's like, what could have been this year? I mean, David Peralta, Goldschmidt, Lamb, Pollock, if he stayed healthy, I mean, they would have had a really, really solid front five if they were all healthy.
And it's just, it's weird. It's sort of like with the Astros, too. It's like, man, I really like what they're thinking of doing here. Like on paper, it looks good. And then the execution just hasn't quite been there.
No. Angels Royals last game, Danny Duffy versus Matt Schumacher. And let's take a look at the Royals bats here so far. And I'm not really in love with this game as far as offense goes. Salvador Perez might be the only one I take a GPP stab with. I can't see myself really using a Hosmer or anyone really else in this lineup, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm not in on that. Schumacher's been too good this year to really especially stack against. But even the one-offs here, I mean, I guess I get a Hosmer, but beyond that, I'm not really too confident in anyone here.
No, I'm not either. And on the Angels side, I'm really only looking at one guy, and that's Mike Trout at 4.2.
Mm.
I'm not really looking at any of these guys. I know Duffy can allow some home runs at times. 1.32 homers per nine to righties going back to last year. So I don't mind Mike Trout. Obviously, Pujols at 3.5 is certainly intriguing. He has shown plenty of upside, but that floor is really low. Angels offense never really generates any excitement out of me outside of Trout and Pujols for the most part.
Yeah, I agree.
That's going to wrap things up here with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all great tools and content.